Award-winning journalism.
I'm a reporter with the BBC. I want to ask you about illegal dog fighting.
What money for?
You're driving a Jag. Spotlight at 40, tonight at 10:35 on BBC One.
The Arctic Monkeys and Sir Paul McCartney drop in with Jules later at 10 to midnight here on BBC Two Northern Ireland. But now there's some rare breeds on the farm.
These are tough times for Northern Ireland's small farms and rural businesses.
Am I talking to an accountant that's gone all soft?
I'm Nick Hewer, and once again I'm returning to my Northern Irish roots.
It's my country. What are you doing here?
I'm from Nebraska. I've never heard of Ballyclare.
To help these small farms and rural businesses diversify.
You're not supposed to cross your feet.
Oh, Spider-Man.
I may not be an expert in their line of business, but I've been knocking around with some of Britain's biggest moneymakers, and they've given me a nose for profit. A couple of pounds matters nothing. You don't understand the value of what you've actually got to sell.
There needs to be a reality check.
You deal with the horse. Shoot the horse yourself. That's where I come in. We're off to see Mike Fraser. He's only been farming for 4 years, but already he's won some awards for his Dexter beef. But what's the point of awards if you're not making any money?
And money is something Mike Fraser knows a lot about, having made his fortune in Africa and Asia as an accountant and entrepreneur. He returned to Northern Ireland 4 years ago, acquiring 3 farms comprising 450 acres. Collectively, they're now Bruce's Hill. He's built his reputation with Aberdeen Angus, Belted Galloway and Dexters, but after 2 harsh winters, the market for breeding stock has tumbled.
Our big hope was that we would sell some of our pedigree bulls. We won a lot of championships with them, but we went to sell at a time when farmers didn't really want to buy because they didn't want to stock in for the winter.
So with no revenue from his pedigree cattle, Mike's sole income is from his own farm shop on the outskirts of Ballymena.
We're now at a stage where we have to make a few decisions about whether we can keep going at this scale or whether we maybe need to scale down. Hello, Nick. How are you?
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Okay.
I've got all my stuff.
Right.
We can get down to business.
Want to go and see some Dexters?
Thank you. Please.
Come ahead.
Can't wait.
No time for tea and comfort. I need to come face to face with Mike's cash cow.
So these are your little Dexters. I'm amazed at how small they are.
These actually are the show Dexters. The Dexters for the beef are slightly bigger.
So these are the sort of model farm cattle, really. They're the pretty ones.
Traditionally, these would have been kept in small holdings throughout Ireland. And our Dexters in particular, because they run on our hill farm on the traditional rougher ground, they actually have a bit more flavour.
So you're saying that the taste is particularly special, and you can get a premium price for the Dexter taste.
This is a specialist beef that you will pay extra money for. You pay a premium because it's a smaller animal.
So per kilo, Dexter gets a better price, gives you a better margin, greater profit.
Big bucks in theory, but only if you're selling.
So your show Dexters look a bit of a hobby to me. The thing is, for years you were a successful accountant in Africa, Bangladesh and the rest of it. You've been in farming half an hour. So who's actually running this on a day-to-day basis?
The guy's name is Stephen Buick. He's the farm manager.
Where is he?
He's down at the other farm at Edenvale.
Take me to him.
Absolutely. Come
Right
ahead.
away.
Come ahead.
Mike's invested heavily in his 3 farms. At Edenvale, he's built a roundhouse, the only one of its kind in Northern Ireland. It's designed to keep cattle stress-free and guarantee meat quality.
So this is Steve.
Yes,
Stephen. How are you?
How do you?
You're running
Good to meet
things.
you. I try my best, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's because after all, Mike's only been in farming for half an hour.
He's
hasn't he?
very much an amateur in the farming world.
And this is your expensive roundhouse. And what are these?
These are some of the pedigree Angus. This young bull here, his mother won Balmoral Show last year. The girl beside him got 3rd.
So how many of these do you sell through your shop each week?
Roughly, we're stepping up slightly to near 5, but it's been basically 3 per week.
At the moment, you're selling all the beef you've got through the shop, but in order to make a profit, you've got to sell about 10. Is that right?
If we can't get that kind of numbers going through the shop, we're going to have to look for another outlet. and they're going to have to take a normal price through the market.
Which is a lower price?
Yes.
So this is a beef rearing venture, and you need to make some money.
By all accounts, Mike seems to be doing everything he can to make the farm viable. So where is he going wrong? The cattle were prize-winning, but what of his one outlet? Would it get any awards? Time to meet Mike's butcher, Colin, the man at the cutting edge.
So, Colin, nearly a year
Yes.
since you started, yeah? Well, what's the footfall like now?
We don't have massive numbers of customers coming through the shop, but what we have people who come and spend more than your average customer would spend through the week, maybe £20, £25, whereas other shops is £8 to £10.
So in the average week, forget Christmas, what would your turnover be?
We do between, say, £6,000 and £7,000.
But if you had an opportunity to start all over again, is this where you'd plonk this farm shop?
I honestly don't know. Location is everything, and there's a whole lot better locations. At the time when we were looking at this place, we thought it was the right place.
Look at all those cups and rosettes. I mean, obviously, the beef's good.
Yeah.
Which is the best seller?
Ribeye steak and sirloin steaks.
Dexter?
Probably the Angus commercial beef would be the
Is
better
it?
seller, yes.
Dexter's not so hot. It's pricey.
It's pricier. It's a narrower customer base, just. It's an acquired taste.
2 little hurdles. It's expensive and it's an acquired taste.
Uh-huh.
Well, I think I'll take a Dexter fillet. No, I'll take 2, because they're quite small.
Mike's shop might not be in the right location, and with lunch sorted, I need to find out if there is money in meat, particularly Dexter's. Time to meet Peter Hannon, one of the major figures in the meat industry. What is it, I wonder, that makes him so very successful? His outlet is out in Moira, but has a weekly average of 2,000 customers, so it can't just be about location.
The thing is, Peter, whichever way I turn, they're talking about you. You're stuck out here in Moira, if I may put it that way, but people come in hordes to buy your product. Why? Is it just down to price?
Price is very important to me. I'm sure it's very important to you. Nobody likes to give any more than they need to. But we have seen a move in the food industry where quality is the primary focus. You've got to have something spectacular if you want to charge somebody a decent price for it. You've got to give them fair value for their money.
Is there money in meat?
You've got to innovate, and you daren't take your eye off the ball at all, Nick. It's a tough business. We have seen lots of people come and go in this business. Yeah. If you don't do it right, it's a short life.
Peter sources, butchers and packages rare breeds from across Northern Ireland, but one thing is missing.
So you're bringing in the native breeds. What about the Dexter? That's an old Irish breed.
We've never aspired to do the Dexter. It's somebody else's game, but not ours.
So Dexter's somebody else's game. Mike's hoping it's his. He's confident of its quality, consistency and profitability.
I like meat well enough, but I'm no connoisseur, so I've invited along 3 culinary experts to taste Mike's product to see whether it's got what it takes to turn him into the face of meat. I've spent all day with Mike, and the one word that keeps coming out is Dexter, Dexter, Dexter.
It is a beautiful animal, small, quaint, but at the end of the day, as a restaurateur, for me to put it on the plate to my customers, it all has to be cost effective, and that's the downside of Dexter.
Northern Irish people really do expect value for money, especially in the current climate.
2 years ago, there was a novelty factor to Dexter. There's also the snob value of being able to say, well, actually, I've eaten Dexter. But yesterday, in the middle of Belfast, I had Dexter Burger.
So guys, this is the sirloin steaks. Here we have the belted Galloway, and then we have the Aberdeen Angus. And here we have the Dexter sirloin steak.
At last, Dexter.
I'm rather hoping good things do come in small packages.
It tastes delicious. It really does taste beautiful.
Will it find its way into your restaurant at these prices?
Let's also price the quantity at the same time, because it is, compared to other steaks, it is still very, very small. You know, imagine if I was going to go fillet, or imagine I was going to go for the ribeye. That'd be even smaller again.
It is such an immediately accessible kind of meat. There's nothing weird. There's nothing funny about the taste.
And mouth's watering, absolutely watering. It's delicious.
Yeah. Which one is this?
That's the belted Galloway. It's much bigger, of course. It's softer. It's more tender meat. And you can see, this is the Dexter. You can just see the difference between the Dexter and the belted Galloway. The darker hue to that, it's almost a purplish kind of colour. Now, that's a much more tender cut, but the flavour isn't nearly as intense as the Dexter.
And what about the third fella?
Aberdeen Angus.
I mean, this meat here, nowhere near as good as the rest, and definitely not as good as the Dexter.
So Dexter shines through. Perhaps Mike's hobby horse is a front runner after all. But there's no time for pudding. Mike has another product to promote.
So this is the potato Roussel with turf smoked chuck of beef.
Mike's taken a local oat and potato bread recipe and sandwiched into it some of his pulled beef. He's calling it a Roussel meat slider.
From here, it looks a bit like a sort of a damp burger.
It doesn't really look appealing to me, being honest. That's the only problem with it.
Immediately, you look at it, you don't know what it is. I don't think it's the most attractive thing in the world. It's brown, Nick. It's very brown.
It's actually beautifully braised for such a beautiful bit of meat. Why braise it? You know, I mean, that's only a market through the winter.
I think that everybody's been very sniffy about this. First of all, it's not to be eaten with a knife and fork. It's clearly meant to be eaten like this.
It's a hamburger.
Now, there is a ratio problem, maybe. You know, There's an awful lot of meat there to the potato bread. The whole movement towards dirty food, street food, that's exactly where this fits in.
Well, that's fascinating, and you've given me so much to ponder. It's frightening.
It was time to digest the facts and deliver the plan to save Mike's rural empire.
Now, the only route to market, currently, is in your farm shop. What slightly alarmed me was that footfall was light.
Right.
But if the market's not coming to you, why don't we go to the market? New shops, portable shops, shops on four wheels. You know how they do it in France and Germany, Italy?
Yes.
And they have these beautiful vehicles, and the driver gets round, gets in the back, opens it up, he flaps down a counter, he pops up a roof, he rings a bell, and people come. So they don't have to drive all the way to your shop, you know? Bruce's Hill Mobile Butchers will visit your town.
I think there are logistics issues with the vans in the sense.
Like what?
I'm not sure you can just sail up into a town centre, unfold your van and go. There must be some licensing thing.
Possibly.
There must be something.
OK. Let's turn to Dexter's. Colin in the shop said, Dexter's, great beef, but it's too expensive and an acquired taste. Let's be realistic. Here in the north, there simply isn't the money. So what about export?
OK.
Let's go where the money is, the big money is. We're not going off to New York at the moment. We're not going to Paris. We're not going to Tokyo. We'll go to London.
Yeah.
It'll have a handsome price against it, but it's something special. And I think they'd make a song and dance about it. Now, let's turn now to your Roussel. It was a hit, particularly with Joris. He said, this is street food.
Right.
He said, maybe the proportions are not quite right. It looks to me as though it's got too much meat in there.
Right.
He said, I think this is a delicious dish and it's yours. Go sell it.
Yeah, we'll go for that.
So fired up by my proposals, Mike gathers his team to plough through a packed agenda and rally the workforce before heading off on vacation for 4 weeks.
What Nick has done is given us a jag at the backside, and we're basically going to go for it, OK? We are going to go for this, big time. The big idea that came from Nick was the Roussel. It was immediately spotted as potential for street food. So we have to pursue how we're going to get this out of street food and a very upmarket. No, we're not chip fan here, we're above that, OK? This is basically sort of setting out what a Roussel is. We're calling it a Roussel meat slider. If we could think of better names, please do. Nick's big idea was that we would actually go down and do mobile butchers around different towns. I don't know how feasible that is, but there are markets. So it might be those rather than going around towns. And if we've got the vehicle to do it, that's fine. So you tear away at it. If you want to be involved in that and the whole setup of this whole street thing, fine, go for it.
So that's everyone up to speed, optimistic and content.
My only fear would be we may create our own monster. We can't just produce cattle at the drop of a hat.
We're certainly OK in the Angus, and we've enough Angus standing in our own farm to deal with the Angus demand if it rises. The Dexter's are a wee bit of concern. It depends how soon it kicks off.
And it could take off sooner than he thinks. With the boss away, farm manager Stephen shows 2 leading Belfast restaurateurs around the farm.
They thrive a lot better in here. They are very content.
All the breeds these guys are rearing and putting to slaughter would suit us, and we're interested in using like nose to tail, using the brazen cuts, using the flank, using the whole carcass, and then trying to use our own skills to put that on the plate. Just like we used to do years ago. Absolutely amazing, amazing breed, beautiful looking animal as well, making me hungry.
3 months later, I'm back in Belfast to catch up with Andy on his home turf.
Clearly, Andy, Mike's been working hard because he's got his Dexter beef into your restaurant. He could have struck gold, but have you struck gold by buying the Dexter from him?
The Dexter on the menu here has went down a treat. It eats great. The marbling of fat through Dexter when it cooks is unique. You know, and because it's a small little beast, you don't need to age it as much. You know, if you age it too much, it gets slightly gamey, but it cooks up, and sometimes you cut the meat, it's like cutting butter. It is absolutely melt in your mouth.
But Dexter's expensive. Does it sit well on your menu?
It is a price. It's a quality piece of meat. But I think you find that people are coming here because they know that the vegetables, the fish, and especially now the meat is quality.
Yeah.
And they're willing to pay a premium price for it.
So the Dexter is a cash cow after all. Time to meet its leading disciple, Mike.
So listen, I've just been up to Andy, and you've got a big fan there, I tell you. He loves the Dexter. He loves you, actually.
Well...
he loves the Galloway, he loves the Angus.
I'm an acquired taste.
Well, you're both obviously passionate about what you do, and he loves what he's got in the restaurant, but there's another side to the business, which is sort of, I guess, taking the Dexter, or taking your meat from Bruce's Hill, out to a different market. Now, we're both quite clear that Bruce's Hill, the farm shop, is not in the best location.
No. Well,
okay. So if you're not in the right location, you go and find the location. And the way you do that is on 4 wheels.
Yeah.
And what happened there then?
Well, what we did was we found this guy, and he makes a lot of these vehicles. So we actually went to him with the overall concept, and he's managed to make us a vehicle that does both. We can have a butcher's counter in it.
Yeah.
We can take the butcher's counter out, and we can use it as a street vehicle as well. And he's actually building the van for us. And as we speak, he's building it to us, and that's a rough concept of what the van's going to look like.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, so let's put the street food to one side. What we were talking about is you've got your farm shop, you've got all these villages without butchers. And then we're going to take this to the villages. What's happening on that front then?
What we're actually going to do is more of the agricultural shows. Every Saturday there's an agricultural show where there will be...
That's street food?
No, the butchers as well. The
Really?
butchers as well, yep. We're going to do the butcher's counter and the street food. You know, this is what our food tastes like. You like that, you can take it home and here's the butcher's counter right beside it.
Okay, so Mike's running with the food trailer, but I've another challenge for him.
So I've got something for you. We fixed up one of the great restaurants in London. Not only one of the great restaurants in London, one of the most fashionable restaurants in London. Yeah. Number 34, part of the Caprice Group. There is no smarter, more upmarket group of restaurants in London than the Caprice Group. All right?
Yes.
And you're going to be talking to the executive chef of that whole group. And let me tell you, you make it good. Don't make me a mug in Mayfair, will you?
It's not all suede loafers and Savile Row suits just yet. Mike's got 3 farms to run, a pitch to prepare, and meat to package before departure. Will his product travel? The discerning diners of London's Mayfair seek exclusivity and quality, and they're prepared to pay a premium price for it. Can Mike's Dexters cut it in a world of martinis and Michelin stars?
Well, it's D-Day for Dexter. I'm on my way to Restaurant 34 here in the heart of Mayfair, one of the Caprice Group's great restaurants. And Mike's going to pitch his Dexter beef to the executive chef, Tim Hughes. I've pulled in a favour here. He'd better not let me down.
Hi, Tim. Very nice to meet you.
Mike.
Thank you for seeing me.
Pleasure.
I'd just like to tell you a wee bit about what we're doing and what we're trying to do at Bruce's Hill. So we've established a really good herd of cattle, probably some of the best cattle we think in the UK. The Angus, we bought a lot of really high quality stuff in Scotland, but our main focus is the Dexters. They're a smaller carcass. Because of the smaller carcass, we were very concerned of actually getting you a steak of the size that you wanted. But we've cut it to the right size here, and hopefully you'll like the taste.
Sounds great. We need to try it.
Thank you very much.
Frankly, Mike's pitch was lacklustre. Perhaps Mayfair isn't his milieu after all. As he awaits judgment in the restaurant, I hope that in the busy kitchen, his meat will do the talking for him.
I heard the pitch. Not that compelling, but I guess the proof's in the pudding, as it were. So this is the product?
Yeah.
These are the Dexters, yeah?
Yeah, that's the Dexter. I mean, that's the sirloin.
Yeah.
And that's the ribeye.
Yeah.
The
What
first
do they look like?
Well, the first impressions is a very small eye, which we call it an eye, which is the actual eye of the meat.
Yeah.
Some people like a big steak because a lot of the steaks we get are a cross breed, but this is a pure breed.
Yeah.
And this is what he's pitching, is that it's a pure Dexter beef, so the eye will be smaller. I mean, we do have some meat from like Argentina, which is a pure breed, and the form is very small as well, like that.
I mean, basically, rather than dragging it across the Atlantic, it might be better just to bring it across the Irish Sea.
Yeah.
Food miles and all that sort of stuff. So is the proof in the eating, then?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Are we going to cook it?
Oh, yeah.
Can I have some?
Yeah, of course you can.
Brilliant. So it's cost, flavour,
Quality.
consistency of supply,
Yeah.
consistency of quality.
Quality,
Yeah?
yeah.
I mean, how many covers have you got here?
Here we've got about 100 seats.
So if you were to take the Dexter, how much would you need a week, do you reckon?
Roughly, probably about 40 kilo ribeye, 40 kilo sirloin.
So you'd want 40 of this, so that's 80 kilos. How many Dexters can provide that?
I reckon I'd probably work it out between 12 to 15 Dexters a week.
You'd have to slaughter 15 Dexters a week?
People are very surprised that to get a ribeye steak, you only get 2 whole ribeyes on one animal.
Yeah. But hold on. 10 to 15, 12 to 15 animals slaughtered a week. That's 500, 750 a year.
Yeah.
That could be a problem.
Crunch time now, the taste test. First to the pass, the Dexter ribeye.
This is what, medium rare, would you say?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of it?
I think I could have a problem with that.
Yeah. Good. It's got a lot of pull on it.
It's
Pull
chewy.
is what?
Chewy.
Slightly tough. I want to try the sirloin now.
Mm?
I'll take from the middle.
Give Paul a bit. Paul?
That's a lot better.
A lot better, yeah.
A lot better.
Is it?
Yeah.
And yeah, traditionally that would be a more tender cut.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So what does that tell us?
Aging, how it's killed in the abattoir.
That's it then, is it? Both of you say the rib's out.
No.
What about the sirloin?
The sirloin, I'd try that.
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah. But I'm not saying I wouldn't try the rib, I'd try again.
There's a question mark now.
Yeah, there's a doubt in my mind.
I'll leave you to tell him what's what.
Yeah.
That's pitch imperfect and product inconsistent. Would Mike be able to shed any light on this meat muddle?
Well, how was it?
Yeah, bit mixed bag, really.
Right.
The sirloin was very good, nice and tender, good flavour, and the guys all agreed it was good. But the ribeye, for me, it was tough, and for me that would be a massive problem. I can't afford to send a steak out and for it to come back, so I can't use that ribeye.
Could be just the way it was brought across and hand luggage, whatever else, but we'll maybe get some more to you if you want. But
Well, I mean, I would have to seriously test it before I am confident to put the ribeye on.
Okay.
Not yet the high-end endorsement Mike was seeking for his Dexters, but undeterred he ploughs on with his street food trailer and forges new links with Food NI.
Look, thanks very much for coming in to see us today, because we'd really like to talk to you about opportunities to have Bruce's Hill at World Police and Fire Games, which are coming to Northern Ireland this August. We really would like to have local food producers profiled at the games.
We've now developed this street food trailer, and we're actually profiling our own beef, or Dexter beef from Northern Ireland, and Ruzel, which is this sort of potato oaten bread. So we can't really get more local than potato oaten bread, so it all seems to fit very well.
Yeah.
So with the trailer underway and the launch venue secured, Mike turns his attention to master butcher John Metrick in an attempt to correct some of the Caprice Group's concerns.
Right, it's a good sized unit. I think you've got enough room to work with in here.
What you're going to need in here really is a hanging fridge.
Yeah.
And you're going to need like a working fridge. From what I've seen you set up at the moment, you've got like a fridge that you're using for both.
Yes.
And it's not ideal, that really, because you've got people coming in and out of the fridge all the time, the temperature's going up, the moisture's going into the fridge, and that's not really ideal conditions for hanging the beef. I mean, you've got some beautiful beef, you know, no doubt about it. I just think it might give you that bit of an edge and improve your product still further if you could separate the hanging from the working area.
Well, that helps explain some of the problems we've had with, you know, restaurants saying our meat's very good, but it's a wee bit tough. This will help eliminate some of these issues.
7 months ago, Mike declared that he needed to sell 10 cattle a week for Bruce's Hill to survive. I'm back to see if he's realised his ambition.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm very well, Nick. You're very welcome.
Excellent. So, Mike, I know that later on we're going to go and see the street food launch.
Yeah.
But coming back to your own farm shop, what's the story there?
Farm shop well, we need it for getting the beef ready for the trade beef, but we think we're also going to open up, or definitely thinking about opening up a pop-up shop in Belfast at least.
And what about other retail outlets?
We're now in 3 restaurants. We're in Home, you've met Andy, we're in Home, we're in Macrofelt, and the latest one is a new restaurant called in Donegal, which is about 3 miles from here, a very upmarket restaurant.
So this afternoon we launched the trailer, but you've had some dry runs quietly. How did they go?
Very, very well.
Where did you go?
We went to the national show at Balmoral with it, and we had a fantastic time there. We're not up to the 10 cows we wanted yet. On the week of Balmoral show, we hit 9, which was good. With the Fleece and Fire Games, we're probably about 6 or 7.
So, an increase in productivity then. I hope Mike's Dexter Burgers go down a treat at the 2013 World Police and Fire Games in Belfast, where he is officially launching the Bruce's Hill food trailer.
Look at this.
Mike's bespoke combi trailer had a hefty price tag of £20,000. I hope it's a sound investment.
This part here can turn into a butcher's counter. We can put the butchers into it, or we can run it completely as a street food vehicle.
But today, it's a street food vehicle.
It is, it's just a street food
What
vehicle.
are we selling? We've got our Roundhouse burger, our Dexter burger, and a hot beef sandwich.
Yeah.
And those are the popular...
Those are the popular things, yes.
Tell me this about the Dexter, because this all started off with Dexter, didn't it? All those months ago.
Yes.
And here we are now, selling Dexter burgers.
Yes.
At how much? 4 quid?
4 quid, yeah. It's been very successful. People have tasted it and then gone and bought the Dexter meat, which is really what we wanted to happen.
So there's a great old margin then between the shop price and the sort of retail cooked price.
Yes, there is, but there are a few costs. But it's still worthwhile.
Yeah.
Not wishing to block profit, I stand back for the official launch. Michelle Sherlow of Food NI cuts the ribbon. The pulled beef and Dexter burgers are going down a storm. But what about our old friend the Roussel? Food critic Joris Min, the inspiration for Mike's street food endeavours, has called by to taste the new reincarnated version.
Now, you're the expert. What do you think? Too spicy?
No, it's not too spicy, but it's a bit masculine. It's very manly.
You think the blokes would like this?
Yeah, definitely. I think it needs a dip. It's a wee bit dry. Just something wet, like a mustard or a sauce or something. But it's very, very good. It's very wholesome. See, people don't know what to call it. A Roussel, a Rizzo,
Well, I agree.
Roussel,
It's an educational task there, isn't it?
Yeah. But it is. It's lovely. It's a lovely taste of Ulster.
Good. My initial thought was that perhaps Mike was a bit of a hobbyist. He loves his little Dexter cattle, new to farming, perhaps a little bit naive, but he's a businessman, and his business brain is shining through. There's no holding him back now.
Groundbreakers season from BBC Northern Ireland concludes as Margaret Mountford uncovers the visionary work of Isabella Todd.
She was instrumental in changing the law in relation to women's voting rights, Married Women's Property Acts, getting the Contagious Diseases Act repealed, and she was principally responsible for getting women admitted to Queen's University Belfast.
At a time of great industrial wealth, crippling poverty and sexism, Isabella stood out.
A single woman, home educated, coming across from Belfast, addressing Parliament. It's breathtaking, actually. I'm very surprised that we've been allowed to forget her.
Isabella Todd, Ulster's forgotten radical, Sunday at 9 on BBC Two.
Shooting ibex very bad. Big trouble. Blame the Frenchman.
When a man's beard is on fire, another may warm his hands on it. What does that mean?
The last few days of intense lobbying went well. All sorts of nods and winks.
Can you show me what one of those nods and winks look like?
Mitchell and Webb are the Ambassadors. Starts tomorrow at 9 on BBC Two and BBC Two HD.